DG Angel and get legal minded. Remember, ignorance is no excuse of the law. So be in the know of the law. Sponsors of In the Know of the Law are Native Audio Stage and Lighting, Braham's Texaco.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for another program of In the Know of the Law. Wherever you are in the world, do not touch that dial, because when we return, you shall know the law.
Yes, sir, me. A long time I tell them I'm afraid of nobody.
T-Wiz Records.
Yes, sir, me. So right now, nobody can stop me from that. Me as a DJ, but a thing what everybody afraid of. As far as me know, as long as remember, if you're born and you grow up in Jamaica, you know what nobody call you not informer. But yes, sir, me. Very proud informer. Me not do it for myself, but for Jamaica. You see me, must be an informer. Me have to make the sacrifice to make the place safer. You see me, must be an informer. Me have a number for this sergeant.
Welcome again, everyone, to another program of In the Know of the Law. Whether you're joining us from right here in Jamaica, from Morant Point all the way to Negril Point, if you're joining us from the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Canada, or anywhere else in the world, we want to thank you for joining us this evening. It is the last week in the month of January, and January seems to have been very eventful. But before we go there to talk about some of the events of January, let me thank our sponsors who've made this program possible. Native Entertainment Stage and Lighting, Braham's Texaco, Task Property Appraisals Company Limited, bringing quality service to you. MT Landscaping Services at Francis Lewis Boulevard in Queens, New York, and to our contributors who have assisted in keeping the program going. Toya's Nails at shop number 6 Rosemary Plaza in Morant Bay, St. Thomas. Sadie from out of York Castle, St. Anne. Errol Barnes from Baltimore in the United States of America. We want to thank those persons who have kept the program going. And if at any time you want to assist, you want to contribute to the program, or if you want to sponsor the program, you can always call Styles FM and they will give you guidance on how you can sponsor the program. For those who want to join us this evening, you can join us on WhatsApp and engage in the discussion. And you can get us at 876 Cassidy. 876 452 453, my apologies. 44 14 44. 876 453 1444, and you can join us on WhatsApp. We are also live on my Facebook page, and don't worry, I'm going to get the number soon, stuck in my head. Yes, join us live on my Facebook page, join us on WhatsApp, and let us have the discussion. We're going to be discussing this evening that bombshell judgment that was delivered by Justice Brian Sykes in the Fitzpinnock RUEL RIED against the Financial Investigative Agency, Financial Investigative Division Agency. And so we're going to look at a few paragraphs of that decision. I think it's a decision that all of us should take a little read of. And you will remember that this decision is coming on the heels of the decision that was made in respect of the Income Act. And so I want us to have a look at that. But before going into that discussion, I want to talk about some of the current affairs and matters that have gripped our attention in the past few weeks. January has brought us the coronavirus from the Wuhan district in China, Wuhan province in China. And so it has spread to other parts of the world. There are confirmed cases in the US. There are confirmed cases in a number of other countries. And there was rumors of scares, a scare closer to home, but nothing is confirmed. And so we continue to take precaution. Hopefully, we'll continue to take precaution to ensure that the virus doesn't reach our shores. It is said that the virus is a more aggressive species to that of the SARS. That was of a concern some years ago. It comes with flu-like symptom, high fever, and so back then when SARS was out, it was a huge concern. There was concern right across the world about it, and so you can imagine coronavirus, which seems to be a little more aggressive, the concern that exists. It has caused some unease among Asians in other countries who are unfairly being targeted as persons who may be carrying the virus. I would caution anyone to label any one individual because of their race or ethnicity as persons who may or may not be carrying the virus or may be prone to it. Let us not go there. We have to make sure that we keep a level head. We have to make sure that we continue to be our brother's keeper, and that in this concern that we have as a people and as a nation, we continue to treat each other humanely. Yes? Even though the virus is cause for concern. Let us not label any race, let us not label any ethnicity, let us not look on our brothers or sisters with suspicion. Let us work together to ensure that the virus does not become a concern in this our country. The other concern, of course, is the earthquake. There have been earthquakes within the region. We got our 7.3 quake yesterday. I hope that the earthquake drills will now be on in earnest, particularly in our schools, in our school system. Delrose, how are you? You're joining us by phone. She tried her best to be here, but she can't fly the vehicle, unfortunately, and she's not alone on the road, and she still has to stay in the speed limit. So those are the only reasons why she's not sitting in studio. Yes, so DG, I was talking about the coronavirus and how in some countries, Asians are facing a tough time because persons are labeling them and saying, perhaps you are one of those who are carrying the virus. And so
can I tell you something, Mr. Chambers, and good evening to your listeners. I was in Kingston today, going into a certain building, and I saw a gentleman.
Yes.
In a broiling sun, he was standing outside of a building. He was in a sweat top, and he looked like, his nose was like running, and he looked like he was cold because he was standing outside in the sun.
Right.
But I'm not saying what nation I think he comes from, but he actually walked in the building, approached the elevator. And Mr. Minaz with him.
Delrose Greed.
And so I did not say what nation he belongs to. Mr. Chambers, I did not answer your listeners. I didn't say what. I'm just saying that he looked like he had the flu because he had an suit.
Right.
And he was in the sun. And he went to the building. He told the elevator, Mr. Marshall, you're going to bring him. You want to go like that. So I understand the concern, but yes.
Yes, and the death toll is rising.
Must be very careful in stigmatizing and spreading rumors.
Yes. So we have to be careful about that. I was also talking about the earthquake. Where were you, Delrose?
I just break for lunch, and the court is going to go back at 2:30, 2:15 rather. I just finished having my lunch, and I was talking to Inspector Gray. Right. I was sitting around the desk, And I felt like the desk was moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked across and I saw that she wasn't concerned at all. It says, okay, so this girl, you don't feel the earthquake? I said, what is that? She said, you don't feel nothing. You don't feel the earthquake. And the desk and the chair started to go in two different directions.
Yes.
So I grabbed up my bag and started to head out, and everybody grabbed the bag, and we came out in the yard at the juicy beef.
Right.
And while we were standing out there, the asphalt literally was filling on our feet.
The what?
The asphalt, the ground, you
Yes.
could feel it moving on our foot.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it was it's a lengthy. I've never seen anything like that. And so I can tell somebody, I'm not even afraid, but I was afraid yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the bad thing about it is that I think we love this kind of excitement, because I've heard Mr. Tsunami watch start to go from every corner, and it was today that I heard that some of them were rumors.
Mm-hmm.
We started to advertise tsunami watch, and I was like, oh my God, when did they know what is a tsunami? Because Mr. Thomas, if they can go and Google tsunami, Portland camera is a tsunami, you know, Jamaica camera is a tsunami.
Yes. I don't think we could handle a tsunami at all. I don't think so.
Exactly.
No.
Because for persons that don't know, and I can't say that, I can stop the vehicle to talk to you, and I want to drive.
Right.
But the tsunami is when the water is going to, you know, we use Jamaica language, the water, the sea level, when I go pull back all the way out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, when they call recede.
Yes.
And when it's coming back, it comes straight into land.
Yes.
So when it is going out back, it takes out almost land, it takes out everything when it is going out back. That is what is a tsunami.
And when it comes back, you know, with all that water, you know, you had better not be near to it.
Exactly. So even if so for instance, that branch there where we are at the courthouse there, they wouldn't be able to escape in it because yes, it can go on higher ground.
Mm-hmm.
But where you drive to go on the higher ground, because the water, I see folks now with the fan car all the way around.
Yes.
But you know, it is interesting, Mr. Chairman. I know you're touching on topics, so Mr. Kobe Bryant, when I heard of his death,
yes, that
I
again,
literally prayed that it was a hoax.
No.
And then his daughter passed with him, and then other persons passed, and it was a sad.
It's quite unfortunate. What I'm puzzled about, though, DG, is that the pilot was given special clearance in less than ideal, in worse than ideal weather. I don't understand it at all.
I don't understand it. I'm trying to come to terms with it, but it. And let me just say finally before I leave, Mr. Chambers, the four young men from Portland that lost their lives
in that tragic accident, yes.
In that tragic, I mean, trust me, Mr. Chambers, I want to use this medium to say sincere condolences to the families, because it's one of the hardest things. I think one father lost two sons. One father lost two sons, the two brothers. Mm-hmm. And the one of the boys is a twin of another.
Yes.
And the other one. And I'm saying, can you imagine how that family feel? Mr. Chambers, I can't even think how them feel. And so we just continue to pray God's strength. It is. Mm-hmm. And we're asking persons, please. We speak no ill of the dead, but we're asking persons, take your time on the road.
Yes.
Because the news came out that they were going to the airport and were obviously late, so they were stepping on it.
Yes,
so we're asking persons, if you're going somewhere at 5 o'clock in the morning, left out from 12 midnight, that you can take your time on the road, because it is indeed sad. I'm going to listen though, because I want to really hear what you're saying about this judgment. It's an interesting one, but I'm going to hang up and I can listen on the radio to hear what is your version of it.
Certainly. Right, and you can always call in while you're listening at any point if you want to put in your 2 cents.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, then. Good. All right. So that was my co-host joining by radio. There is also a peace deal that the Donald J. Trump administration is saying they have brokered through Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the president of the United States of America. And what it does is that it gives Jerusalem to Israel. And the Palestinians are saying, absolutely not. We're not accepting that. And I think one of the things that Mr. Trump tried to do was to give back to Palestine some historical lands that belonged to Palestine that they have always claimed. But the Palestinians are saying, no, we're not accepting that at all. We're not going to accept that Jerusalem belongs to Israel. Jerusalem is ours. And so I don't think that peace deal is going to go very far at all. I really don't see it going very far. Even though it delivers on one of the demands of the Palestinians, which was to have a two-state solution. Israel being one state and the Palestinians having their own statehood. So even though it met that demand, the Palestinians are saying it hasn't gone where we want it to go, and that is to ensure that we get Jerusalem. And then beyond that, the plan also proposes to cede the West Bank, where Israel is expanding its residential developments, to Israel. And for those of you who have followed the history of the difficulties between Israel and the Palestinians, the West Bank itself is a source of conflict. And the Palestinians are saying that the Israelis are encroaching upon Palestinian lands, building these residential developments so that they can enlarge the Israeli settlement and reduce the Palestinian settlement. And the Palestinians, so that's another sticking point. The Palestinians are saying, we're not accepting that. And so that is something to watch as well. There is also the impeachment trial of the president of the United States that is still going on. The Democrats laid out their case. Trump's defense has laid out its case. And in the middle of Trump's defense, making his case, because the defense for Trump is that there is no direct witness who can say that Trump demanded a quid pro quo from the Ukrainians. Bear in mind that it is the very White House which has used its powers under the president to block witnesses from giving testimony. And part of their defense is that there is no one who can speak directly to it, but they are the ones who have prevented witnesses from speaking directly to it. Well, in the middle of all that defense, John Bolton is writing this book about his time in the White House. And it was leaked that in that book, soon to be released, John Bolton has said, Mr. Donald J. Trump did withhold aid from the Ukrainians unless they announced an investigation into the Democrats and Biden. Well, the Democrats have turned up the heat, saying they want Mr. Bolton and other witnesses to testify, and that if there's no witnesses in a trial, then it's a sham trial, because you can't have a trial without witnesses. The Republicans are saying it's unnecessary. You went through, the Democrats in the House went through a whole trial already. We'll just use what they have sent to us. We don't need to call any more witnesses. Well, it's kind of strange to me that jurors who take an oath, because the senators took oath that they would be impartial, that they would listen to the evidence and that they would make a decision based on the evidence. Every jury system in the world requires that jurors are impartial. And every jury system in the world, it is prudent that all facts, all pieces of evidence touching and concerning the matter is placed before the jurors. So it's a little baffling to me when the jurors, the Republican jurors, are saying, we don't need any more evidence. Then how are you going to make your decision? It's a little baffling to me. But that's American politics for you, and that is being played out as it is. But that's just a snippet of what is happening across the world. Of course, we had the whole issue with Meghan Markle, who is saying that they are splitting from the monarchy and they want to try and make it on their own. That is still going on. The issue with Prince Andrew has come back into the media mix, and they are saying he has refused to cooperate with investigators in the US in respect of Epstein's investigation into accusation of indecent conduct on the part of Mr. Epstein, who has since passed. So that is in the news, in the media. Hong Kong seemed to have settled down. Demonstrations seem to have ceased. Let us see how long that will hold. Iran is still on the path of enriching uranium. Let us see where that carries us. Everyone had the scare the other day about World War III. And so let us see what is going to happen to that. And so, having gone into some of the current affairs, let me quickly recognize some persons before we take the half-hour break. I see Marcia from out of South Carolina. I'm going to come and speak to what you have there in a little bit, Marcia. I see Janet, Ricardo from Glencoe joining us. Sadie, hi Sadie, how are you? Joining us as well on my Facebook page live. I am seeing Peter Gay. Thank you for joining us, Council. Great to have you. I'm also seeing Amanda. Thank you for joining, Amanda. I see Bombdem. I see Owen. Kerry, thank you for joining us also. And we hope that when we come back on the other side of this break, you will continue to listen to us as we talk about the judgment given by Chief Justice Brian Sykes in the RUEL RIED and FID matter against the Financial Investigative Division Agency.
This time signal is brought to you by Braham's Texaco, 15 Arbor Street, Port Antonio. We remain open 24 hours every day for your convenience. The time is
5:32.
I'm tired of you on this pop down jalapeno, you know. Watch there, we all run out of gas now.
What babes? Me think the quarter tank could have carried from Kingston come up Port Antonio. Boss man, which part round here is the nearest gas station there? Yeah man, right at the road man. Braham's Texaco right at the there.
So bossy, me can get one cup of coffee, one hot dog, anything for eat round here?
Lady, you know hear me say? Braham's Texaco, everything up there.
Braham's Texaco service station and convenience store. Located at Arbor Street, Port Antonio, Long Bay, Portland, 24 Queen Street, Morant Bay, Gale St. Mary. Proud sponsor of In the Know of the Law.
Giano, the flu ya mash me down, you know.
So wait, you don't know about Taj Pharmacy?
Taj Pharmacy, the friendly global pharmacy. We stock a wide array of items from makeup, medical, sundries to toiletries. We offer delivery service, condition supply. Open every day, including public holidays. Monday to Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's Taj Pharmacy, located at 23 West Street, Port Antonio, Portland.
So what you say? Them do delivery too? Of course them do delivery, but conditions apply.
At Knutsford Express, everything matters. It matters that our customer transportation officers are trained for 12 weeks before captaining their first passenger trip. It matters that your precious cargo parts on time and arrives safely. It matters that you enjoy the comforts and convenience of home. Because at the Knutsford, we move what matters.
Club 50 Cent Cove presents Shockwave Red and White Edition at 50 Cent Cove, Kensington, Main Road, Portland on Sunday 16th of February 2020. It's an event with style, class and elegance. Music by the Unity Band with local singers and Black Wave Sound alongside Chungy from Styles FM, DJ Hobby and DJ Glasses. Tickets are only $1,000 for the dinner and a chance to win a laptop, tablet, phone and many more prizes and lots of surprises. Also there'll be a talent show starting at 5 p.m. and a big pageant show, the crowning of Miss 50 Cent Cove. It's all happening at 50 Cent Cove, Kensington, Main Road, Portland, Sunday 16th of February. It's all about Shockwave Red and White Edition.
Task Property Appraisals Company Limited is a licensed valuation entity that is committed to providing quality service to clients across Jamaica. We have over 10 years industry experience. Our track record of providing speedy service is complemented by affordable prices. We also work with commissioned land surveyors to meet your surveying needs and provide referrals to law firms. We're licensed as a real estate agent and offer real estate consultation. We also provide valuations for insurance purposes. We cater to residential and commercial customers, as well as those in the agricultural and industrial sector.
For more information, contact us at Shop 28, 224 Fort George Street, Port Antonio, Family Building. Call us at 876-410-9020 or 876-862-0509.
Welcome again. Thank you for staying with us for this second half of our program of In the Know of the Law. Today we are going to look at the judgment given by Chief Justice Brian Sykes in the matter of Fritz Pinnock and Ruel Reed against the Financial Investigations Division. We will not go into what is currently happening with that matter at all. We are only going to restrict our discussions. We're only going to restrict our discussions to the judgment itself and the implications of the judgment for the Financial Investigative Division. And I will remind you that this judgment is coming on the heels of the judgment given in the Indicom, the challenge that was made to the Indicom Act. And so it is very important that I believe for us as Jamaicans to follow these things, because these are the very legislations which are used to either incarcerate us or absolve us of any criminal liability. And so let us have a look at that. I'm doing good, Jody. Thank you for asking. Just to give a little history, a little background. So Ruel Reed and Mr. Fritz Pinnock were brought into custody some time ago as a result of investigations into the Caribbean Maritime University and the Ministry of Education. A number of allegations have been made. They were charged and brought before the court. Their attorney, Hugh Wildman, made an application for judicial review before the court. The judge who heard the application was Chief Justice Brian Sykes. And the gist of Mr. Wildman's application is that the Financial Investigative Division had no power to arrest, no power to charge. And as a result, the arrest and charge of Mr. Fritz Pinnock and Ruel Reed are null and void ab initio. And so the matter should be removed from the criminal court and his client absolved of all charges. So that was the gist of his application. And so we're going to read through it a little. As I said, I'm not going to go through the entire judgment, and I invite everyone to tell us your comments and to engage in the discussion and tell us your position on some of the conclusions that were made in this judgment. and tell us your general view of implication you think it may have going forward. Hi, Samantha. Thank you for joining. All right, so we start to paragraph 1. It says here, this is an application for leave to apply for judicial review by Professor Fitzpinnock and Mr. Ruel Reed, who have been arrested and charged with a number of offenses. Both gentlemen assert that they were arrested and charged by the Financial Investigations Division, which was established by a section of the Financial Investigations Division Act. The applicants say that the FID, Financial Investigations Division, we call it FID, that the FID does not have the power to arrest and charge anyone. They say that by arresting both applicants, the FID acted outside of its statutory powers, and therefore what it did was a nullity. This position led applicants to seek leave for judicial review, and the applicants are seeking the following declarations. So they are saying that their arrest and charge is a nullity, and that the FID had no authority, or they were acting outside of the scope of their authority in making these arrests and laying the charges. The declarations sought are: 1, under the Financial Investigations Division Act, the FID is a purely investigative body. It does not have the power to charge the applicants with any offense arising from any investigation it conducts. It does not have the power to seek and obtain a fiat from the Director of Public Prosecutions. And I'll remind some of my listeners who may be listening for the first time, Director of Public Prosecution is the person who can lay a charge against any individual. The Director of Public Prosecutions can end a criminal proceeding against any individual, can withdraw it, and the Director of Public Prosecutions can give authority to someone to act in concert with it, so to prosecute the matter along with the Director of Public Prosecutions. Yes? They also sought declarations that the police officers designated by the Commissioner of Police to be members of the FID are not authorized under the Financial Investigations Division Act to institute charges, and that the charges instituted by the FID are illegal, null and void, and of no effect, and that the proceeding instituted by the FID before His Honor, Mr. Von Smith, Senior Judge of the Parish Court, are illegal, null and void, and of no effect. They are also seeking an order prohibiting the FID from taking steps to seek and obtain a fiat from the DPP to prosecute both applicants, an order of certiorari to quash the charges brought against them. So they are seeking an order to do away with the charges that were laid. And they are also seeking an order from the court for the stay of proceedings in the parish court. He goes on to say, Mr. Robin Sykes, Chief Technical Director of the FI. So those are the orders that were being sought by Mr. Pinnock and Mr. Reed. He goes on. He says, Mr. Robin Sykes, Chief Technical Director, and Inspector Brenton Williams, Director of the Constabulary Financial Unit within the Counterterrorism Organized Criminal Investigation Division of the JCF, say that it is not accurate to say that A, charges were instituted by the FID. B, so this is the persons who work within the FID who are defending the position of the FID are saying it is not accurate for the applicants, that's Mr. Pinnock and Mr. Reed through their attorney, Mr. Wildman, are saying it's not accurate for them to say that charges were instituted by the FID. B, that the applicants were arrested and charged. It is not accurate to say that the applicants were arrested and charged by the FID. The arrest and charge, it is said, were instituted by members of the JCF using their powers under the Constabulary Force Act and other related legal instruments. Well, the last part of it, the judge, Chief Justice Sykes, was not amused at all with this argument about related legal instruments. He says, the court wishes to observe that it is not appropriate for a state agency to decline to state in foot. Now listen to this, is very important. It is not appropriate for a state agency to decline to state in full the legal power that it claims to have to do whatever it claims to have been lawfully done. So it can't be that the state agency does something and does not want to say under which or what authority or where its authority comes from, where it is derived, to engage in the activity that it has engaged in. He goes on, he says, this is especially so when the challenge to its power involves the freedom of the person. So the judge is saying it is especially egregious for a state agency not to explain in full where it is saying it derives its power, especially when the exercise of that power or authority involves the freedom of every Jamaican like myself and you. So it is incumbent on every state agency, whether it is in Financial Investigative Division, whether it is the JCF, whichever state agency it is, you must be able to explain in full details where it is that you're saying you derive the authority to do what you say you did. The court does not understand what is meant by other related legal instruments. While the context is different, the sentiment behind the regret expressed by Lord Walker in Belize Alliance against the Department of Environment, that's a case from out of Belize, regarding non-disclosure by the state is of value. The court ought to have been told by Mr. Robin Sykes and Inspector Williams what were these other related legal instruments under which it is alleged that both applicants were arrested. So you arrest the citizen, whoever the citizen is, you know. Now, folks, I want you to clear your mind of who the applicants are. And I want you to focus on the principles that are being discussed, the issues that are being fleshed out. It matters not whether the person's arrested and who brought this application, came from Mount Pleasant in a farming district, or whether the applicants are from a Fortune 500 company. It matters not. As long as it involves the liberty of an individual, irregardless of who you are, as long as you're a Jamaican, as long as it involves your liberty, there must be explanation as to what these instruments are that you're relying on to say you have authority to arrest and charge. Particularly to arrest. And so Brian Sykes was saying here, he was not amused by it. And he wanted, and they ought to have given full disclosure of these other legal instruments that they're saying they were relying on. Let me see a little bit here of what is being said. Pause a minute. I see Carrie Ann. Thank you for explaining. Very informative and educational. Thank you, Carrie Ann. I see Dwayne joining us. Mr. Kushney, thank you for joining. I see someone by the name of DG Angel at the top here saying interesting. Marcia from out of South Carolina. Marcia, I see you say here, I don't blame you, DG. Corn man keeps on bones. I had the flu last week and I thought I was gonna die. Then started realizing it was, and started analyzing if it was coronavirus. Well, I'm happy that you're okay, Marcia, and that it is not the coronavirus. Janet is saying good evening, Mr. Chambers and DG. I am in class. Thank you for joining us in class, Janet. That's Janet from out of St. Mary. Ricardo from out of Glengoff. He's saying here, all of this is for me. No, I don't think all of this is for me. What thing? Dramatic Hong Kong data predicts coronavirus outbreak infecting 150,000 every day. Really? And he gives some statistics again about the Wuhan, what is happening in Wuhan province. And he says that coronavirus screening expands to 20 US airports. That's good. He says, good evening, Mr. Chambers. Good evening, Ricardo. He said, should shout out to the listeners from across the world. Thank you. He goes on, he says, what here? Yes, we saw that earthquake. We spoke about that, Ricardo. Successfully what? Rose Wuhan coronavirus sample from sick. Really, Ricardo? Okay. Thank you for your participation and your input, Ricardo. What else do we have there? I see Sadie. What is Sadie saying? Sadie is saying, hey, Mr. Chambers, how are you doing? Happy to have you. Happy to have you as well, Sadie, and thank you for joining. I will continue. We are now at paragraph 5. They say that the applicants were arrested by the police. This is Chief Justice Brian Sykes continuing. They say that the applicants were arrested by the police using powers given to them in their capacity as police officers. If this turns out to be the case, then the application must be dismissed because the factual foundation for judicial review is not present. And so there would be no need to determine whether the legal test has been satisfied. Mr. Richard Small, for the respondent, says that the assertion of Mr. Sykes, the inspector, that the applicants were arrested by the JCF members, acting as JCF members under the Constabulary Force Act, has not been refuted by the applicants. The court observes that this is the very point in issue, namely, whether the applicants were arrested by persons acting under the Financial Investigations Division Act or under other statutory powers. And so a mere assertion one way or the other raises factual questions. Fortunately, in this case, the factual issue can be resolved based on the material provided and the conclusions arrived at by the court. There is no need to determine the credibility of the deponents. He says, Mr. Wildman asserts, and Mr. Wildman is the attorney for Mr. Pinnock and Mr. Reed. Mr. Wildman asserts that the powers under the Financial Investigative Division Act are not available to any member of the JCF at large. So what Mr. Wildman is saying, under the Financial Investigations Division Act. The police is not at large to exercise powers under this act. They can exercise it, but within certain restrictions. Such powers can only be exercised by a limited class of police officers. This limited class comprises those who are designated under Section 2 of the Financial Investigations Division Act as authorized officers. One of the major premises of Mr. Wildman's submissions is that no JCF member can use the powers under the Financial Investigations Divisions Act unless he or she is designated as an authorized officer under Section 2. Learned Counsel also states that an inference to be drawn from this major premise is that once under the Financial Investigations Divisions Act, the police officer cannot utilize any power they have as JCF members in respect of investigations under the Financial Investigation Division Act. So what Mr. Wildman is saying, if a police officer is designated as an authorized officer by the Commissioner of Police under the Financial Investigations Division Act, he cannot exercise his powers as a member of the JCF. He is confined by the limitations of the Financial Investigations Division Act, and he cannot step outside of it, even though he's a JCF member. According to counsel, the police officers who arrested and charged the applicants were authorized officers, and in that capacity had no power to arrest and charge under the Financial Investigations Division Act. And any arrest and charge by these police officers are nullities. So that's the assertion being made by Mr. Hugh Wildman. He's saying if the officers who arrested Mr. Pinnock and Mr. RUEL RIED are indeed authorized officers under the Financial Investigations Division Act, they cannot exercise the powers of arrest that they have under the Jamaica Constabulary Force Act. And Justice Brian Sykes is saying that goes to the very heart of the application that is being made. He says, how did Mr. Wildman get to this conclusion? And he said a number of provisions were examined. And so the court now turns to the provisions under the Financial Investigations Division Act. I will go to paragraph 12, where the functions of the Financial Investigation Division are fleshed out by the judgment. Section 5, it says, of the Financial Investigations Division Act, says as follows: subject to the provisions of this act, the division shall A. advise the minister on matters of policy relating to the detection, prevention, and the control of financial crimes. B. collect, request, receive, process, analyze, and interpret information relating to financial crimes and transaction reports and any other reports made to or received by the division under the Act or any other enactment. C. subject to Section 9 and 10. Subject to Section 10, take such action as it considers appropriate in relation to information and reports referred in paragraph B. D, where it considers it necessary to disseminate information and reports referred to in paragraph B. Now, it refers to a CID here. Okay. It goes on. It says where the CTD considers it necessary to disseminate information and reports referred to in paragraph B to the competent authority, the Attorney General, the Commissioner of Police, any of the revenue commissioners under the Revenue Administrations Act, the Commission for the Prevention of Corruption, and it names some others, or the Director of Public Prosecutions, and any other body designated by the Minister for the purposes of this paragraph. E, the Financial Investigations Division can investigate or cause to be investigated at the request of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Commissioner of Police, or any other public body, or on the initiative of the FID, any person who is reasonably suspected of being involved in the commission of any financial crime. F, it can promote public awareness and understanding of financial crimes and the importance of their elimination from the society. G, it can formulate and implement management guidelines and policies and an annual plan approved by the minister. H, it can also establish a database and data bank for the purpose of detecting and monitoring financial crimes. It can engage in the compilation and publication of statistics on the reports that made to it under the Act, the prosecution of financial crimes, investigations carried out by it, or the conviction of persons for financial crimes or judicial orders in connection with proceedings relating to financial crimes. It can manage, safeguard, maintain and control any property seized or restricted under the Act. It can carry out other investigation and perform such functions and enter into any transaction that are assigned to it under the Act or in the opinion are necessary or incidental to the proper performance of its functions. Subject to the provisions of the Act, the division may, for the purpose of carrying out its functions, provide and receive information relating to the commission of financial crime, provide information on topologies, statistics, and other materials relating to financial crimes to public bodies and such other persons as it considers appropriate, and after consultation with the competent authority, give guidance to financial institutions and designated non-financial institutions regarding their obligations under the Act. And it can also consult with and seek assistance from such persons as it considers appropriate. Nothing there says that the FID can arrest and charge. Nothing that I just read says that the FID can arrest and charge. The Financial Investigation Division Act does not give that power to anyone acting under the Act to arrest and charge. And that is the very issue that the court had to resolve. We're going to rest it there for this evening. I am again going to thank, I see my co-host typing something. She already typed something. Can I see what she has there? What's that? I'm not repeating that one. My co-host has given a comment, and I acknowledged the comment. I acknowledge the comment, and I'll move on smartly. I want to thank everyone who has joined us on WhatsApp. I want to thank everyone who has joined me on my Facebook page. Beanie, I see you. Josette, nice to have you. Derek, Mr. King, thank you for joining. Rayon, Hamilton, thank you. Damien, from out of the US. Which state are you in again, Damien Anderson? Tell me again, I don't remember. Desmond Williams, thank you for joining. Claudine, a longtime friend, thank you for joining as well. And to everyone else who joined us this evening, thank you for joining and participating. To my sponsors, Native Entertainment, Stage and Lighting, to TAS Property Appraisals Limited. I lost the thing here, you know. TAS Property Appraisals Company Limited, bringing quality service to you. You can find them at Farmer Building, Royal Mall. MT Landscaping Services at Francis Lewis Boulevard, Queens, New York. And you can contact them at 347-840-4623. That's 347-840-4623. To our contributors, Toys Nails, shop number 6 at Rosemary Plaza, Morant Bay, St. Thomas. You can contact Toys Nails at 876-426-5066. That's 876-426-5066. Sadie from out of York Castle, St. Anne. And Mr. Errol Barnes from out of Baltimore in the United States of America. Thank you all for your contributions and for your sponsorship, which has continued to make this program possible. I want to thank my co-hosts for joining by phone, and I want to thank all the listeners who continue to listen to us. We will continue this discussion again in another program, and so I say to you, please join us again for another program of In the Know of the Law. Have a great evening.
Native Audio Stage and Lighting, now offering stage, lighting, and truss systems for your small and medium-sized events. Whether it's a stage show, concert, drama play, wedding, street party, or club setting, you name it, we'll bring it to life. Call us at 871-5212 or 844-6531. Native Audio Stage and Lighting, a sponsor of In the Know of the Law with Sergeant Delrose Green, and also Real Talk with Lady Cleo and Daddy Rude.
Task Property Appraisals Company Limited is a licensed valuation entity that is committed to providing quality service to clients across Jamaica. We have over 10 years industry experience. Our track record of providing speedy service is complemented by affordable prices. We also work with commissioned land surveyors to meet your surveying needs and provide referrals to law firms. We're licensed as a real estate agent and offer real estate consultation. We also provide valuations for insurance purposes. We cater to residential and commercial customers, as well as those in the agricultural and